DRA pretty much tells us how much revenue,
Yeah.
or also how much to anticipate. And especially with the wacky last couple of years, it's kind of difficult.
Yep.
So it's,
They could be wrong.
oh, probably they will be wrong. But it's best guess.
Absolutely.
So it's whoever has the most accurate dart.
Yeah,
That's
they
about
got a pretty good accurate dart. DRA and, you know.
So this is state revenue.
Well,
Go against the state budget, or
yeah, and the budget gets presented tomorrow,
they still don't have a
the
revenue
governor's
figure?
budget. And then we use that. to
You still don't
piggyback.
have a revenue figure?
No,
Can you do that?
we're gonna be working on it.
Tell Lindsay to get it done.
Tell who?
Lindsay, isn't she the one in charge
Oh,
of
yeah.
that?
Yeah. Not on a first name basis yet, so,
He used to work with her.
oh, yeah. She's pretty impressive. It's,
Yeah, she is.
she and, I forget the guy's name.
I don't remember who the head of DRA now is who.
That's Lindsay, but,
Who is it?
Step, Lindsay Step.
yeah, Lindsay Stepp. And then there's a gentleman, he's Asian American, whatever.
Mhm.
And he's like the numbers guy, pretty much. Anyway,
It's 5 o'clock. Call to order. Allegiance. Bill, why don't you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have some minutes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 30th regular meeting minutes.
well, you nailed the mic too. That's,
Know it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's minutes. I assume the February 9th ones just, we're not there yet from last week.
She's working on them, yep.
And if anybody wants to see February 9th, it's on YouTube if you need to see or review any of that. Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Monday, February 27th, Monday, March 13th, and the 27th. All meetings will be held upstairs in the town hall and will be held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Citizens wishing to be listed on the board's agenda should notify town hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. One important note is that town offices will be closed on Monday, February 20th for President's Day. Also, upcoming, it is town meeting time of year. On Tuesday, March 14th, we have elections from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Plymouth Elementary School. And then on Wednesday, March 15th, we have the town meeting at 7 p.m., also at the elementary school. Hope to see a large turnout for those events. On that note, Josie's not here, but I assume she's aware that both, in terms of select board representation, both Marianne and I will be unable to help, so she just needs to make sure that's covered otherwise, if you see her. I'm sure she's thinking about it because she deals with town elections, but having two people not there sometimes throw her day off a little bit. And so we're going to skip here. We're going to skip over the public hearing.
Town managers report.
Oh, I skipped the town manager's report, and I have a beautiful one right here in front of me. Look at that.
We
what
have
I'm
a
talking about.
5:15 public hearing, Zach, so you've got a few minutes.
Yeah, so you have 13 minutes.
We'll go through it very quickly.
Fantastic.
First, the ambulance billing reimbursement status quo right now. Chief Morrison has been working with our contracted towns, advising them of what the budget will look like and being presented next year and what the costs associated with that budget will look like. Plymouth Police Department, thanks to the generosity of Walmart in their $1,000 donation, the department felt they could best use the funds to purchase each officer their own go bags, which a bag provides officers with the essential for patrol in situations they may encounter. Those bags have been assembled and issued to each of the officers, and the contents are listed below. Plymouth Police Department will be hosting Coffee with a Cop Wednesday, February 22nd from 8 to 10 at Cafe Monte Alto. It has been advertised on the website, as well as there is posters throughout Cafe Monte Alto announcing the Coffee with a Cop. Recycling Center, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services visited the recycling center on January 10th to conduct a facility inspection. That hadn't been done in quite some time. The inspector identified 7 deficiencies in his report. They range from signage, metals, tires, glass, and monthly inspections that are conducted by the staff. I've met with Jim Kahn, and 4 of the items were to be completed by February 22nd, 2023, of all which have been completed as of February 2nd. So we're in good shape with the inspection report. We have 2 additional items that have to be completed by May of 2023. That is the glass and the ferrous and non-ferrous metals, and Jim and I are working to come up with a plan to eliminate both of those from the recycling center, the quantity that we currently have, as well as moving forward. I did provide a letter of support to the foam recycling program with the town of Guilford. This was coordinated by Lakes Region Planning Commission. Plymouth Rotary is currently involved in this program and working with the Guilford Recycling Center. Streetlight survey. All of the non-working streetlights that were identified have been repaired with LED bulbs. In the spring, we will convert the remaining bulbs to LED. Thank you to Steve from Highway for organizing this effort. We will now look at the darker areas around the Rotary and the crosswalk areas to see what additional lighting is needed. You do have a purchase order tonight that will be in front of you for the cost of this repair. Candidates Night, I'm sure everybody has gotten an email or heard about it. The date has gone back and forth several times. Val Scarborough, Kathy Kelsey, and Mike Conklin would like to continue with holding a candidates night. Dan Salzer has been included in the process for production. The date selected is Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at Plymouth Regional High School. I advised that I would bring this to the Select Board for input. Currently, there is a box in the lobby with questions for the candidates. So if someone wants to come in and write a question, they can put it in the box. Or I think tomorrow, Dan will be posting Val's email address, so somebody could email a question to Val, and she will bring those with her the night of the event.
Scott, has anybody coordinated with the school at all? I know last year when we did candidates night, we had one person who was running for the school board who was kind of interested in participating.
I do not know, Zach, but I will check into that and find out.
I know that there's at least one school board position open this year.
2023 utility evaluation proposal. The town is currently under contract with Sanssouci LLC through March of 2023. Our assessing department reviewed the marketplace and researched additional companies for competitive pricing and service. Through conversations with our assessor, we found Brian D. Fogg LLC, who's located in Whitefield. In comparison, Brian Fogg LLC meets all qualifications and comes highly recommended by other municipalities. There is a considerable savings with the yearly and hourly price in changing to Brian Fogg. We will have the contract reviewed by the town attorney, which has been completed and is now sitting in the hands of DRA for approval before we make any determination on signing.
What's the guesstimate for the yearly savings, Scott?
Estimates, it is about a savings of $6,500. Correspondence, I think I mentioned this last time, Cindy Warmington, Executive Council District 2, will be visiting us on February 27th. Congresswoman Annie Custer will be here on Friday, February 17th, to visit the town hall. should be here around 10 a.m., so if anybody's interested in coming in and meeting with Congresswoman Annie Custer, please feel free to come in and have a conversation. Like I said, it's around 10 o'clock. They couldn't give me the definite time.
Just an open-ended conversation.
Yep, she had reached out probably about 2 weeks ago, asking if she could come in and meet with us, because I had sent her some information on the ambulance billing in the correspondence that we've been working on that, and she wrote back, her representative wrote back, and stated she would like to come in on Friday, February 17th. Plymouth State University, that is status quo right now. Marlon and I will be meeting next Tuesday. We have met with the university police and have some new things in place, which I'll discuss at our next meeting once everything has been finalized. But we are on track for our cluster project with regards to economic development in parking. Homeland Security, Emergency Management, and FEMA. We met with the representatives on Wednesday, January 25th, myself, Ann, and Joe. And with regards to the storm damage that occurred in late December, we discussed the road and culvert damage that occurred in Plymouth. We have submitted our FEMA forms as directed and cost estimates to FEMA and waiting to hear back from them. Planning and Development, Housing Opportunity Project. The committee has been very active, meeting weekly on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. The consultant was chosen, Barrett Group Planning LLC out of Hingham, Massachusetts. We've executed the contract, and dates were just set up in early March. I think it's March 8th, 9th, and 10th maybe. That Barrett Group will be here interviewing folks, and those meetings will take place at the Pease Public Library. I have a meeting with Bill Johnstone tomorrow with regards to streetlights and other projects and funding reimbursements. Part of the project that we just did with the streetlights may be reimbursable through New Hampshire Electric Co-op, so I'll find out more about that tomorrow. Department head meeting took place on February 1st at Plymouth Elementary School, hosted by Lisa from Recreation. At this meeting, we discussed succession planning, operational efficiencies, financial and budget review, department updates, and provided them with the draft procurement policy for feedback. And we talked about preparation for town meeting. Cable contract, status quo, budget process. Second hearing was held on February 9th, and as Zach had mentioned, the dates for the elections and the town meeting. Highland Street project, we've made some progress on that. We met with Mike Vignali with regards to the project and the engineering on February 2nd. We had a follow-up meeting with Marlon Austin from New Hampshire Department of Transportation on February 8th to understand the requirements and to get the project kicked off. Ann has developed a request for qualifications, which I've been through it, Joe's been through it, and obviously was the author of the document. We sent it down to Marlon Austin at the state, which he approved the RFQ. We've sent it to Plymouth Village Water and Sewer and working in collaboration with them to assure it meets their work that they'll be doing. So we will be picking 5 engineers that are on the qualification list and sending that out probably early next week to kick that process off. PEMI Youth Center, just as a follow-up to us putting money back into the nonprofit, I was able to meet with Jessica Dutile and gather some additional information. There are 99 youth registered at the center for 22 and 23, ranging from 4th grade to 12th grade and 9 years to 17 years of age. At least one parent of the child lives in Plymouth, and PEMI Youth Center, I think as we all know, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, serves as an empowerment program for the youth in the community. So at least one parent of every child that attends the youth center does live in Plymouth. Welfare Department, Mary Ann was able to assist 7 individuals during the month of January. Tri-County Community Action Program informed us that there was a new homeless program during inclement weather, and Plymouth was allocated $6,155 for homeless funds to be used for those applicants. We will be receiving additional outdoor weather gear packs that the police department and the fire department will hand out as needed during inclement weather. tax report, still 96% of the 22 taxes have been paid as of January 18th. And even furthermore, as of last Friday, it's still at that same number. And just one additional thing, Mount Prospect Academy has revitalized one of the old tree service buildings on Old North Main Street and have invited us down to take a look at the building. I think it's a pretty impressive outreach of what they've done for the community in putting this building together and will allow different areas of the community to use it. What they want to do is demonstrate how they will be revitalizing the houses that they buy throughout Plymouth for their staff. So I think it's a great opportunity to go down and take a look at that, and we can talk later about a date that maybe we can visit that location and even possibly have a meeting there. And that concludes my report.
Scott, you skipped over one item. Was that because you want to talk about it in non-public? Or did you just skip it?
No, we can talk about that now. I apologize for doing that.
That's okay.
Zach had asked me a while back to speak with Alex Ray with regards to a parcel of land that sits just north of the lodge. It's parcel 209024. It's a very small parcel of land that really has no use to anybody because of the ledge that's in there, and Alex has an interest in buying it. So as I started researching that, thinking it was going to be an easy project to complete and look through, and working with Attorney Radigan, is that when that property was taken by tax deed back in 2016, the town failed to mail a letter to the previous owners, allowing them the opportunity to repurchase that property based on RSA 80:89. So John and I have been working back and forth the last few days with regards to this, and what we found is that the law was changed, reverted in 2020. So we do not need to send a letter to the previous owners, but what we do need to do is to create an abutters bid package and notice, of which I worked on today and should have completed by the end of the week, and we'll send it out via email for review. So it looks like Alex most likely will be the only one to bid on the property. He does know the assessed value. The assessed value is $27,500. And Attorney Radigan and Attorney Jack McCormick from Ashland have been working on the purchase and sale based on the abutters notice that will be sent out.
Do you need something from the board to be able to proceed with that purchase and sale?
The only thing we need is a motion from the board authorizing for the sale of that property.
Okay.
Do you need the authorization to go out to bid before, or just order of operations on that? I was
Nope,
unsure.
just the authorization for the sale of the property.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion that we put the property as described, located on Main Street, lot number 209-024, up for bid.
I'll second that.
Out to bid or for sale?
Oh,
For sale.
yeah.
For sale, sorry.
To
I'll
sell.
amend that to sale.
I'll accept that amendment.
Yeah, and I would specify the value in that as well. Like
I'll
at
amend
least
the value at
$27,500.
$27,500 for the assessed value.
I agree to that amendment.
Any discussion around that? Good. I'm excited to
I
get a
have
piece
a
of property
question.
on the tax roll.
Is-
Yeah.
We were considering looking at a tract of land behind that
Yeah.
for a possible fire department. And would that land be important for access to Route 3?
No.
That answers my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We did walk that property a few weeks back, and the odds of that being selected are fairly low, I think, based on the walking that we did. That could change, but right now it certainly didn't zoom to the top of the list of everybody saying let's get going on this. But even with that in place, that particular piece of land, the land behind it's kind of flattish, but then between that piece of land and Route 3, there's a huge ridge. That's the ridge, like when you look at the police station, right behind the police station, it goes almost vertical behind them. So that the only way that that piece of land becomes valuable is if you were to do a lot of blasting. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Scott. Any other questions for Scott on the town manager's report? I think you had one, Neil, and I interrupted you.
Huh?
Did you have a question for Scott when I asked about the?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think you made a misstatement on the date. It was February 24th that they're going to have the
Yeah, it's the 21st.
21st?
They've changed it. Since I put the report together,
oh.
They made another change because there was
okay.
candidates that weren't available.
Well, I'm glad you rectified that.
21st. And that's at the high school.
That is at the high school.
Yep. All right, we're past time on our public hearing, but there's not that many people here, so I think that's fine. It is 5:19. I am going to open the public hearing. Plymouth Select Board is holding a public hearing in accordance with RSA 3195B for the acceptance of unanticipated funds from the state of New Hampshire. In accordance with SB 401 in the amount of $115,895.53 for the purpose of maintenance, construction, or reconstruction of municipal-owned bridges. These funds are intended to be utilized for Loon Lake Road Bridge. Ann or Scott, any additional context beyond what I read straight off the paper?
Nope, the only thing that is subsequent to that is we currently received a grant to do the engineering for the Loon Lake Road Culvert and Bridge, which was awarded to Mike Vignali. So he is in the process of doing the engineering for the bridge. We also met with DES with regards to that project last week, I think it was, and spoke to the young lady with regards to our concerns about the state of New Hampshire not buying in and building up the road, Fairgrounds Road, to make that a not flooding area. So that's all part of the project. The young lady was going back to New Hampshire Department of Transportation, hopefully have a conversation with them and get them re-involved in the project. But this would at least be our portion of the repair of that culvert bridge, depending on what is decided to put in there.
Gotcha. Any questions from the public? Any comments from the public? Just checking online as well.
There's one person, Dan Marion.
Just Dan.
No, I'm just hanging out. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Dan. And so with that, I guess I will close our public hearing at 5:21. And we can use a motion on these funds.
I'll make a motion to accept the unanticipated funds in the sum of $115,000, $115,895.53 for the purposes of maintenance and construction and reconstruction of municipal-owned bridges.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good one. We have a request for reappointment for David Kent to the zoning board. Here's the letter from David Kent. Hello, Joseph. I'm requesting that the Plymouth Select Board please consider me for reappointment to the Plymouth ZBA. I'm currently the chair of that board. My term expires in March 2023. My relevant credentials include town resident for 51 years, previously a real estate broker in 5 states, including New Hampshire, and experience as a real estate appraiser. Bachelor's degree from the University of New Hampshire, master's degree in business administration from Northeastern University, Juris Doctor degree from Boston College, Over 40 years teaching real estate, zoning law, business law, as well as other related courses at all levels of education. Member of the New Hampshire Bar, currently serving as a master in the New Hampshire Circuit Court. I would like to continue to serve my community as a member of the ZBA. Sincerely, David Kent.
I'll make a motion to reappoint David Kent as a member of the zoning board.
Second.
Oh, man.
Who got it?
I don't know.
Sounds cool.
Any discussion?
I've known Dave Kent ever since he came to Plymouth. I was a college student, and he provided me with some really helpful advice when I needed it. And I think he's been a really solid contributing citizen of our community. And I appreciate his input.
Anything else? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the next topic is about reappointment for LRPC. And I have two thoughts on this particular topic. One, if we're going to reappoint Bill and myself, it's premature to appoint me because I'm up for re-election, so we should not appoint me this time. Secondarily, I actually wonder if we should use our second board appointment to appoint somebody from the planning board.
Exactly. I would agree with that.
Because we've been struggling
Can't make the meetings.
to make the meetings because they happen on Monday nights. So if we could find, I know you serve on the
Executive committee.
executive
and-
committee, and there's definitely value to that.
Well, I'm still not certain if you have to be on the a commissioner in order to be on the executive
Oh, that's
board. But
interesting.
I didn't find that out. I know I had a discussion with Ann.
So
but-
clarification on that would be really key, because if that's the case, you should definitely remain appointed so you can serve in that capacity.
Yeah.
But I think we should use that second appointment to try to find someone from planning board to serve.
So let me get a hold of Lakes Region Planning Commission, ask that question,
Yeah, please.
and then we'll have Joseph bring it up at the planning board meeting.
I think that would be great.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just
You could
table this for now, if we can.
Yeah, you can even have a municipal person as well on the commission.
Right, it could be Joseph.
Joseph?
Yeah, right.
Or, yeah.
All right. So let us look into that, and we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
That would be great. 'Cause I think there's a ton of value from LRPC, but we've been struggling to realize it from our sort of distance by these Monday meetings.
So if you can be on the executive committee, Bill, you still want to stay on? And
As a
Zach, you're
commission.
okay to give up your seat
I
to
mean,
a planning
if-
board member?
Well, I'd give up my seat as well, if I could just remain as the on the executive committee.
Okay.
Yeah, so then we would have two options, and then there would actually be there would be two people who could kind of trade off on going. But if not,
All
well.
right, so we'll
the
find
executive
out,
committee can
and
appoint.
it'll be 2 meetings before we bring it back, because it'll be after the elections,
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
So it'll
Okay.
be, after
sometime in March.
third week of March or whatever. Table. Thank you. And we got some purchase orders. Do we want to take Steve's first so that he can leave if he would like to?
Well, mine's quicker than his.
All right, Dan. You have a microphone, you get to win.
So in front of the board is a purchase order for the amount of $6,223.61. This is for repairs to the streetlights. This is by the courthouse. It's my understanding, Scott, that they have already been repaired.
All the repairs have been completed with the exception of a few bulbs, which will be done later this spring, as well as 2 light posts need to be repaired, and I just received the quote that we received from Hutchins Electric for that work, and I really haven't had a chance to look at that.
So it really was an emergency need, especially for patrons who walk from the bank down that way. And
Yeah.
so he just went and had it done, so.
All right. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase order in the sum of $6,223.61 for the repairs to streetlights.
Mary Ann, I haven't heard from you.
I'm sorry?
Do you want to second this?
No, it's all you tonight. You agreed to
I'll
that.
second.
You're throwing off the...
Discussion.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And these mics are like very sensitive.
They are. You gotta be careful. All right. You're right, Ann. You win. That was nice and
That was quick.
All right. On to Steve St. Pierre, United Construction and Forestry grader rental. Do you want to come sit with us?
One up, Steve.
He didn't want to come up.
He does
So
want to.
I'll start out by saying the funds that you'll see on the next two purchase orders for the grader rental and for the roller and the trailer, these are funds that the board discussed back a few months ago in appropriating from ARPA funds $225,000 to purchase a used grader. Steve and Joe have traveled throughout New England trying to find a used grader that didn't have excessive hours on it. And we were unable to find a grader, and they spoke with several distributors, and there was nothing available with less than 4,000 or 5,000 hours on them. So in discussions with Steve and Joe, we felt the best use of this money at this time, because we do not have a roller to be able to pack the roads after we currently grade them and get them into a situation that they'll be passable. So a part of that $225,000, which is the $110,370 for the Volvo roller and the trailer and the warranty that goes with the roller. And again, Steve and Joe traveled around New England trying to find the best deal that we could find with regards to a roller, because we currently don't have one. We have one that's been outdated for many, many, many years and is not effective in taking care of the roads. So that's that piece of it. And then with regards to the purchase of a new grader, we're finding the cost anywhere from $370,000 to $400,000 to purchase a new grader. Obviously, we didn't have that in capital outlay. We don't have money in capital reserve for it. So what Steve and Joe are trying to do is to maybe get our current grader through one more year. We're not positive that can happen, so in retrospect to that, we'd like to have a purchase order signed for $33,000, and that is to lease a grader for 3 months. It may be a little less than that, but it's roughly $10,000 to $11,000 a month to rent a grader. We may not need it all that time, but this will get us through this next year. And as we move forward, we'll have some additional ARPA funds that are still with us that we could put towards the purchase of a new grader and add that into the capital improvement plan in this upcoming year. So this will get us through this season and be able to give the equipment that will operate effectively, efficiently, and keep our roads, our dirt roads, gravel roads in good shape. Steve, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that?
We're gonna save a lot more time, because last summer, I think we spent like roughly 6 weeks during the whole summer just doing dirt roads, and I think this is gonna shave down a lot more time for us to do other things besides just focus on dirt roads all the time.
But all of this money is part of the ARPA funds, the $225,000 that the board approved a few months ago for the purchase of a used grader.
I have a question. If they only need it for 6 weeks, they don't have to pay for 3 months, do they?
Correct, absolutely. We're just doing worst-case scenario. We will only spend the amount of money needed to grade the roads how they need to be done. We may need it 1 month because of the efficiency. This is a new grader that they'll be using. They'll have the roller, they'll have the trailer. We'll be able to do it as you should be doing it, if I'm not mistaken, Steve.
How heavy's the compactor?
It's 7.5 tons laboratory roller.
Yeah.
with a 66-inch drum.
How long does a new grader last?
I really don't know. It depends on hours, I guess, on what you do with it.
Okay. I was just
I
wondering.
mean, our
where
current,
We've done
our
pretty
current
well.
one's
Ours
probably
is-
not a good reference point. We've had it
Ours is
since
35
'88.
years old, so I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good stretch.
I was just wondering, does it make sense for us to continue to rent instead of purchase a new one? If that's our only option is.
I think we're probably better off purchasing, seeing that, I mean, we're getting a huge savings, I think like 600,000 if we were a commercial, but being a municipality, we get a huge discount. And even the used ones, they're still really expensive and they're halfway through their life. So I think if we bought a new one, we'd probably get another 30, 35 years out of it.
Well, there's a dearth of equipment in this area, but if you go down to Kissimmee, Florida, there's excess of equipment down
There
there.
is.
If you know, we're up here.
Do we have a trailer that we can,
Well,
Well, I think Neil was volunteering.
there's guys that go back and forth.
There's guys that go back and forth, and the transportation cost is about a month of
Yeah,
rental.
yeah, it's getting expensive.
My biggest concern is the gamble is why were they getting rid of it? You know,
Yeah,
you don't know what you're getting into.
yeah. You need to know who owned it.
Right.
I just think at this time, this is the best case scenario in getting us prepared for spring and the conditions
Prepared
the
for mud
roads are
season.
currently in.
Well, they're gonna stand behind it.
Absolutely, we've got the warranty with it, and it will be stood behind.
Yeah, it's a nice grader.
Is the roller, that was already in the plan, or what's the story with, I mean, I know we're talking about two things at once here, but they're kind of
Well,
tied
with
together.
the roller, it wasn't originally in the plan, Zach, but looking at the equipment and evaluating the equipment that they use for this, I mean, Steve, you can talk about the roller, the condition of the roller you currently use.
Yeah, it really isn't really a roller. It's just decoration.
They had
Is
that
this the
roller-
toe behind thing?
Yeah, it really doesn't pack very hard.
No, it wouldn't. It's not that heavy.
So the wheel ruts that we leave behind, then the water travels in the wheel ruts, and then next big rainstorm, we're out there fixing it again and doing the exact same thing because we're not.
It
compacting the
doesn't
roads.
vibrate.
No,
No. It's not very heavy.
no.
I mean, I think one thing we need to do is evaluate the equipment we have, and I know Steve has been working on that, and I've been down to the highway garage several times to look at the equipment and really figure out what we need from a strategic priority in equipment that,
Well, supposedly that's what happened during the capital improvement planning process last year. So what I'm hearing is that piece didn't happen.
I'm not sure it was effectively reviewed and priorities were put in place, to be completely honest.
Okay. Would be good if, I mean, Steve, have you reviewed that plan or looked at which equipment's been prioritized for replacement from
Yes,
highway?
Yep,
Okay.
that was already in place when I came here.
It was, yeah. Is that a list that we should get you on the agenda for the CIP this coming year to
Sure.
maybe reprioritize that list or, take your outside perspective on it? And,
Absolutely.
I mean, the goal is that we plan, ideally where we want to get is so that we don't have surprises.
Yep.
What's the weight capacity of that super line trailer?
A 10-ton.
I think you're exactly right, Zach, is when we do go back in after town meeting, we start meeting with the CIP, a deeper dive into the evaluation of each department needs to be done to make sure we're effectively putting in place what we need.
Make sure
So
that-
we
that-
don't get caught with an
Exactly.
expense of $400,000 down the road for a grader
Exactly.
like this.
Yep. Or 100,000 for a roller.
Whichever.
Where is this money coming from?
This money was part of the ARPA funds that the board moved to expend on the
On the grader.
use of the used grades.
Okay, okay. So this shaves that fund we had for the grader down from, was it 250,000?
25.
225, so that we'll leave 115 in there.
So, yeah,
I think buying that vibratory roller is really important. It's half of the job.
It is, yep.
How quickly will they be able to get this to us?
They have it ready to go?
It's ready to go.
Good.
And I didn't, but Norma Jean spoke as recent as today with the company with regards to the grader, and they're ready to go when we need one in place.
The trailer needs to be ordered though. I think it's like 12 weeks. 8 to 12 weeks.
You ready for a motion?
I am, yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase order for the grader rental in the sum of $33,000.
Up to.
Up to. Oh, the
Second,
Any discussion?
I think it's important that we have a proper vibratory roller to go with the grader.
Yes. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's the rental.
And now we'll move on to the roller trailer. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase request for the Volvo SD75D roller and trailer plus warranty in the sum of $110,370.
Second,
Any discussion? I see that we decided to not go with a lease option here. We went with just direct purchase.
that roller will last forever.
Is that, we figured because we had the ARPA funds, we might as well do the direct purchase instead of a lease?
We don't have authorization for the lease. We'd have to go to town meeting, and we had the funds in ARPA,
So,
and it worked
okay,
at that point.
because it fits.
It does.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're good, Steve.
You're
Good
good.
job.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Steve.
Steve.
Appreciate you coming in.
It's no problem.
Have a good night.
Have something from Alex Hutchins. Are you going to represent this, Scott?
Yes, so this is to celebrate. This is a piece of equipment that was purchased a few years ago. And what this does, this is the yearly licensing for that piece of equipment with regards to physical extrication and pulling information off of cell phones, and it includes the physical analyzer. So it's used in all of the investigations today, and with regards to drugs, fraud, overdose, threats, sexual assaults, and all investigations. So it is the yearly license. It is budgeted in the police department budget for the $6,100 that is outlined here.
So it's just used for phones? Is that
Excuse me?
just for phones?
Yes, to extract information from phone.
Not laptops or anything?
Is that part of the contract for the piece of equipment they bought?
Yes.
I like seeing the attached budget where it's already planned for. That's always nice.
Yep. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase order for the UFED for PC physical extraction subscription and physical analyzer for the sum of $6,100.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on to Anna Bear about an updated procurement policy review and approval.
Right, so I believe that this will be a discussion, Scott and I will both present it to the board, but on the very front sheet of the procurement policy, we have reviewed this with the department heads, and they understand it. What I tried to do here was to show the board what it was, the purchasing and procurement policy. We really didn't have one that was complete and successful. So this new policy takes the purchase orders from $1,000 to $199.9. No purchase order will be needed now until you get to $3,000. Then currently, 2,000 to 5,000, a PO was written and signed by the department head and the town manager. We're looking to change that 3,001 up to $10,000. 5,000 to 10,000 currently gets submitted to the Board of Selectmen for approval. Looking to change that to between 10 and 15,000, 10,001 and 15,000. It will still be under the jurisdiction of the department head and the town manager, but 3 written quotes, verbal or written, will be required. So our proposal here is for the Board of Selectmen not to see any purchase orders under $15,001, up from the $5,000 it currently is. And if you look invoices that come through, you look at the purchase orders, I mean, those are pretty, still minimal numbers. It's a big change, but everything is so expensive right now that we're getting massive amounts of purchase orders come in for delivery of fuel, or just because they're over the $1,000 threshold. So we're looking to change that and ask the board to let us look at that.
The one thing that I'll say is that when I was doing financial liability assessments with MRI, with Property Liability Trust, what we've put together here beats government finance practices and approved policies. And as you can see below, it also includes contracts. It talks about emergency purchases. Something that wasn't outlined was insurance indemnification requirements and written out. Artificial division, which will be prohibited in this policy, as well as conflict of interest, ethics, and use of local vendors in disposal of property has been updated as well. So really tried to take this and put it into place as a overall procurement policy for any types of services that we would procure for. So whether it was a contract that we were working on and how we have the town council review it, but it's all-inclusive in one policy now that would, I feel, meet the needs of the town of Plymouth.
And most of the people that we're talking to now for grants, when they say you're going to go out for RFQs or RFPs, they say, we want to see your procurement policy. This is substantial compared to what we have on the books right now. We really don't have much for a policy, and this will cover what we need to. It's ever changing. If something comes through and we need to make some changes, or the board's not happy, or if they see something needs to be changed, it can always be changed, but it's definitely a starting point.
And did you have any places where you sourced this policy from, or did you create it?
There are a couple local towns that I belong to a listserv, and I put something out there, and I got so many of them.
So this is consistent with what other towns
is.
have been doing?
Yep.
And what the government finance officers
Yeah.
section in New Hampshire would approve and use.
So for the 10 to 15,000, 3 quotes, written or verbal, why do we include verbal and not all written?
Well, if you could call, I mean, I could call, simple, if we're putting plants out, I could call a certain vendor and say, how much for 10 of these plants? And they could tell me over the phone. And that's acceptable to attach that. I can do it in a note. It's the 15,000 and above that you really need to get them in writing, because that's coming to the board. Most of us get it in writing anyways,
Right.
but you could do a verbal if you needed to just get 3 quick quotes.
I can tell you, from my perspective, anything we purchase from $10,000 to $15,000, we will have written materials to support that information.
Yeah, I mean, some of the ones we got even today, you know, at least attached to them, don't have
3.
3 necessarily.
You're absolutely correct, Zach, and this is going to put us in a place where we have all the documentation needed when we enter into our purchase agreement. And we will have all the documentation before the purchase agreement is signed, which today, in some cases, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
This is long overdue.
Yes, yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
And everyone is doing the same thing, because this is a town-wide policy. It's not just a fire department or a police department, it's a highway. It's, everybody has to do the same thing, and that'll be consistent and
Good thing.
This seems to also align with, as we move from town administrator to a town manager form of
Yes.
government, putting, you know, a little more responsibility back towards the town manager. This aligns with that form of government, I think.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the updated procurement policy.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have
Do you have a thing to sign, or is it?
what I'm looking for.
Or you know, just put it on
I'll just use mine, if you wouldn't mind, unless you don't have an original in the
I have
folder.
a couple additional items for signature. I don't know if you want to cover those now or after you go through.
No, now's the perfect time.
Okay. So first, we have all of the forms for application for payment from the trustees. And those are all with regards to the warrant articles that were passed last year. Warrant Article 18, warrant Article 19, 21, 23, that were approved. I do have the minutes from last year's meeting, if you want to see those. But these are for signature with regards to moving the money from the trustee of the trust funds to the town to make payments. And then I have a veterans exemption form for a Wilkie Revocable Trust. This comes as the Wilkie family went into a revocable trust, but it's also at the 5-year point where we would review the veterans exemption. That's for signature. And then I have a clarification here for what is called completed corrective filing. Back in October of 2015, this family had taken 1.69 acres out of current use. The town failed within 18 months to record this with the Registry of Deeds, so they haven't been able to get a clear deed on the property. So what this form does is to give a corrective filing, so the deed will acknowledge the land that was taken out of current use and that is currently in current use. And then the last thing I have is a settlement agreement. And if you recall, and I'll read this because I think it's important to go through the document, that Northway Bank, the owners of 3 Highland Street, applied for an abatement for the 2021 assessed value with a tax representative. The property is a 5,868 square foot bank building on 1.224 acres with a 2021 assessment of $668,200. The owner had argued that the market value of the property as of April 1st, 2021 was between $352,000 and $431,000. The abatement application was denied by the Select Board on June 27, 2022. The property owner filed a timely appeal with the Board of Tax and Land Appeals on September 1st, 2022. The Board of Tax and Land Appeals issued an order on October 6, 2022, that the two parties meet in an attempt to settle the matter before a hearing is scheduled. Emily Goldstein from Whitney Consultant LLC, our assessor, and Rick Vincent, our current assessor in the office, went out and inspected the property on January 11, 2023. The inspection included an interior viewing of the building and a walk around of the lot. The building was found to be suffering from much deferred maintenance. The lot suffers from a steep topographic issue with large granite ledge wall behind the subject bank building. Additionally, the upper portion of the lot is used by the town library for parking purposes and has little or no alteration value of the subject building. As a result of their observations, Emily and Rick made significant changes to the building and lane data, which resulted in a reduction of the assessed value for tax year 2021 as follows. Actual assessed value, $668,200. Adjusted assessed value, $485,000, which is a difference of $183,200. The adjusted value would be applied for the 2022 tax year as well. The town will be undergoing a time-wide reevaluation in 2023, so the adjustment value will not apply to the 2023 tax year. The property owner has agreed to the adjusted value of $485,000 for 2021 and 2022. It is his recommendation that the Select Board agree to the adjusted value.
Neil? They probably should vote on that.
Yes. And does that include like a tax reimbursement as a result? Is that,
Yes.
yes?
And my understanding is yes.
Okay.
What they do to their building to get it down?
I'm sorry, Neil?
What did they do to their building to make it worth less?
I think based on the wall behind and the town being able to use the parking at the Pease Public Library, is they felt that their assessed value, according to Rick, and speaking with him, was way over what it should be in accordance with what they actually have for a piece of property that's usable.
I wonder, it's side note, I wonder if at some point we should discuss with them some sort of lot line adjustment or something for those parking spots. It just seems complicated for them to own those parking spots, argue that that reduces their taxes, concern about liability of those spots. Like, that all just feels like an awkward relationship. And if they truly don't value that land that's up on the hill, why wouldn't we clarify that by just coming to some sort of agreement that changed the ownership of that and moved the lot line?
Which makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I don't know if they're open for it or not, but
We can have a conversation.
yeah, might be worth it.
They use some of that parking, don't they?
Up at the Pease Public
Yeah.
Library, I am not aware that they do, Neil. They may, but I'm not aware, but I can check with
Supposedly
Diane.
that was part of their thing, was to use that parking.
I can check.
They probably don't
On
use
that.
it.
Yep.
Sort of curious about it. Anyway,
Good to know.
So we need to make a motion on that, but I don't have it in front of me, so I can't. So whoever has it could do it.
need a motion to accept the agreement between, settlement agreement between us and Northway Bank,
And to issue an abatement of the same.
and issue an abatement based on the settlement.
I'll second.
Marion?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
It's kind of late, but don't you think that back when it was like the penny, or even prior to that, that rock wall would have been part of the mix of the assessment
Or
of the
the
building?
initial,
I would have thought so.
Whatever.
This was the first one.
Just one other note of interest, Zach, is I received a message from Plymouth Renewable Energy on Saturday, February 18th at 3:30. Plymouth Area Renewable Energy has invited local foods of Plymouth and farmers to come see the new pavilion next to the Brimstone Building before they open their operations March 16th. They extended an invitation to the planning board and the select board if someone wanted to stop up at 3:30 on February 18th to see the new building that was put in place next to Brimstone, where they will host the local foods Plymouth Thursday events that take place.
When is that? You said February what?
February 18th at 3:30 at the new facility
Off of
next to Brimstone.
Fairground Road.
Yes, correct.
With a new driveway to cut in.
Anything else?
That's all I have, Zach.
Thank you. Committee reports. Plymouth Village Water and
I
Sewer.
was unable to attend.
Right. Planning Board?
I haven't been able to go to anything.
Okay. And I didn't realize that, so I also did not attend. Are you going, there's a meeting this Thursday.
I'm gonna be there.
You're attending Thursday, okay. Campus Community Council.
We have a meeting planned for March 22nd at 5:15 right here. I've talked to Marlon. He's going to get an agenda to me on the PSU items that they wish to bring up. And I talked to Scott briefly last week, and he's going to come up with a similar set of things for the town to have on the agenda. The idea here is that we want the meeting to be more inclusive, talk about things other than, the current landlord-student ratio kind of deal, and make it something that's a more community discussion.
And the date again was?
March 22nd.
Yeah.
So we're staying with our Wednesday evening plan,
In time again?
5:15.
There was also, not that it was Campus Community Council, but Plymouth State just made me think of it. There was a meeting last Monday at Plymouth State legislators, something.
There was
I ended up having a thing that I wasn't able to attend. Anything interesting come out of that legislators breakfast?
Interesting.
Were you there?
No, I was there, yeah.
You were there, you were there,
Yeah,
right? I was gonna be there and I just
thought the
missed it.
biggest part of that was the networking opportunity to meet with some of the legislators as well as the Plymouth State University staff and students. It was uplifting to go to the breakfast and hear the student legislative body talk about the things that they're working on and things that they have done. But more importantly, they had the group that did the cluster project up in Berlin and Gorham on the lagoons give a presentation along with a professor that was in charge of that cluster project. And they really talked about how their philosophy behind cluster projects and how they're building out the university with regards to cluster projects. And it was very interesting to see how and listen to the students that were actively involved in that. It was, I thought, quite uplifting to hear how they attack it, how they come up with their plans, the meetings they hold, as well as the documentation that they put together in the presentation was very impressive.
I second that. I've heard it all before. I mean, and also in the previous ones, they said they haven't had one in like 3 years.
Right.
And prior to that, it was in that side room where we, had the buffet. And it's kind of like smaller and probably like, not as many people attended. But we also had like discussions in the past on the economist from PSU, forget his name. He's a local. I mean, he lives in.
What was his title?
He's the economist.
I'd be
Something like 1-2 or something like that, or.
I'd be more than that.
So,
No idea.
in any event, he was like kind of predicting which foreign monies might be coming to our state, which was also very interesting. And New Hampshire is more of a recipient on foreign monies than surrounding states. So,
Is that due to the primary?
pardon me? Is that-
That influence due to the primary? Why else would we be getting foreign monies disproportionately?
We do have something, we have
German
tourism.
monies.
We also have.
So does
some of-
Maine, so does Vermont.
Apparently, we get more.
There's also the Peas. There's a lot of development there.
Interesting. Plymouth School District. Ted, you
Well,
attended a bunch of meetings last week.
I attended a bunch of meetings, and I unfortunately left my notes at home. But one of the primary topics of conversation, as you probably imagine this time of year, was budget. And I'll do my best from memory. Plymouth Elementary was up 640-ish thousand, which is approximately $1.40 on the tax rate. So they passed their 3 warrants, and I think I don't remember what the value was for the high school. Wasn't it like 1 million?
Yeah, in dollars it's more, but in Plymouth tax rate impact it's less because we're
Because
only
it's shared.
60% or something.
So I don't remember the details, and I'll bring them with me next time.
Yeah, and it's funny, I forgot my folder, and I was at both of those meetings with you. Nothing overly surprising in either case. Slightly high outcomes from union negotiations driving a lot of it in terms of, I think, 4.5% raises plus step.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I will say that I really liked their presentation, that they both had consistent layout.
They had nice handouts.
Materials,
Yep.
made it very easy. They could, it showed that both the high school and the elementary school last year had a fairly significant dip in enrollment that has seemingly come up a little bit in both cases. So there is a lot of alignment there. But both of them are still quite a bit below, I think it was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Yeah, we had a pretty sizable drop off over 10 years.
And based on population demographics that I know the university is expecting, that is consistent with what the rest of the university system is seeing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess they're anticipating a crash.
It's considered a demographic cliff. Okay, you walk up to it, but it doesn't mean you have to jump off.
Okay, that's better.
Crash is really bad. That's
Is
about all
there-
I can remember.
Was there any discussion on like vouchers, whether or not that's having any kind of effect at
No.
all?
No discussion.
No discussion.
Honestly, both budget hearings were very poorly attended,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, no
Right.
less than what we see here, but
They were better attended.
I actually think they were better attended than our budget hearings, yeah. At the high school a year ago, my wife and I were the only attendees in the audience. literally the only 2 people in the audience. This year, there was maybe 20 people. That felt better.
Yeah, it was
It was
better.
still sparse in terms of like, hey, we're talking about $19 million and you've got 20 people in the audience, but at least there were 20 people.
There were honestly more people registering people to vote on anything that came up than there were
Because of
attendees.
because of just the way that SB2 and all of the towns together. You end up with 2 registrar, ballot clerks.
Clerks of sorts,
2
yeah,
clerks
whatever.
per town, and I don't know, 8 towns. Conservation Commission.
I don't think they had a regular meeting. They didn't have a quorum.
Capital Improvement, still on hold. Advisory Budget Committee, still on hold. LRPC,
I haven't heard recently about any executive committee meeting, so I'm not sure.
so no news beyond our appointment conversation. Parks and Rec.
I talked to Lisa, and there was a realization that she scheduled the meeting on the same day as town meeting, so she's going to reschedule. I haven't seen that rescheduled date yet.
Parking.
We actually made some good progress last Friday. Scott was able to attend some concerns, Highway Department as well as Seniors Center. I think we came to a resolution to most of those issues. I think one of the biggest changes is the Senior Center would like some parking spaces in that dirt area. So Alex was going to go back and reevaluate how many we can actually get in that area, and then figure out how much the Senior Center can get, and the rest go to permit parking. So we have another meeting scheduled this Friday, kind of going on the path of working forward. We're going to do this. April 1st was the date we threw out. We'll keep rolling along. Grace has met with the Senior Center around their lighting. So it's looking a lot better.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has the lighting been resolved, or is it still being worked on, pretty much?
What do you mean resolve?
Like,
lighting?
is the lighting going to be on all the time? Is there?
So some are going to be on timers, and
Okay.
one of motion
Solar.
detector.
Yeah.
Yes, that was some of the conversation that Grace had with Gail at the Senior Center, was putting some things on motion detector. I got from the synopsis we got from Grace that they did not want to, we were hoping they would also leave kind of right out in front of Green Street those lights on all the time.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound like that was something they'd want to do, so we're going to have to bring lights in. Now the other problem is, who's going to do this? Who's going to actually install, maintain these lights? Grace was a little struggle with that, but we'll get an update on that Friday as well. So,
Okay.
I think that was it.
Good. On the note of parking, just briefly, one of the reasons that the zoning amendment was being discussed around distance of parking was the fact that we had granted parking in our lot up here to the post office, which exceeds the zoning limitation on off-site parking. Now, we're the select board and we're allowed to do that kind of thing, but it was a point that the planning board was using to drive that particular topic. No one has asked us to reevaluate that decision. I think my general feeling is that that's worked pretty well, granting them those spots, but it's been rattling around in the back of my head that we had done this thing that seems to be working, all the intents and purpose, like it's all legitimate, but at least we should be aware that it was maybe not completely within the norms. Yeah.
Right.
What was the central argument in opposition to that warrant article?
I think there's two parts. I think one was the timing of the introduction of the discussion, which was, hey, we're going to be voting on putting these on the ballot in 2 weeks. Why are we adding another one to the mix, 2 weeks out? Not, often those zoning amendments are discussed for months and months leading up to. So that the timing was one aspect. The other was some concern that off-site parking may lead to more residential in the downtown commercial district, and that should be, if that's going to be done, it should just be done a little bit more carefully in terms of aging infrastructure, parking in general, that was just one of the things. And then I think that actually the zoning amendment applied not just to village commercial, though that was the area it was trying to address. It actually applied more broadly. So you could have a parking lot put in a residential area all of a sudden, which we really don't have much of that in the town. You could take, for instance, that Wentworth, there's a house on Wentworth Street that really needs to be raised. It's non-recoverable. But if that house got raised, it could very easily turn into a parking lot, not just for the houses that are right there, but that could turn into a parking lot for a house 500 feet away or on Pleasant Street. Right, exactly. So there was just some uncertainty of what the cascading effect of that would be. Not necessarily that it was even a bad idea, but it was very quick and had some potential. I think that's why everybody just kind of got nervous and said, let's hold it. But anyway, I was thinking about our impact of trying to solve one parking issue and potentially causing a conversation in the context of planning board and zoning. I'm not necessarily suggesting we do anything, but I wanted to at least connect those dots for this board. All right, PERLAC.
We had a meeting, actually, we had a meeting at the wine room at Foster's. And the gist of it was like we're focusing on the river management plan updates. And so there was like some duties that were assigned to different people to, I guess, formulate. Well, there was some confusion about like where LRPC, Lakes Region Planning Commission, is going to be completing certain sections, or whether or not it's going to be coming back to the committee members. And my thoughts are, we're kind of paying for rewrite, and they were going to address the whole shebang. So it seemed like we didn't need to discuss it at that point, just like see how much LRPC is going to be doing for the grant that we were issued, and then we could worry about filling in the blanks. But in any event, it's going forward. So due in April, by the way.
Anything other than the river management plan? That's pretty much the focus
That was
there?
pretty much it, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a PERLAC meeting in March?
Yep.
Was that just a factual question, or were you looking for the date?
No, I just, well, I don't know, maybe there'll be another one in February.
Yeah, we got one in
I
February.
was
too.
unable to go.
The only one we don't do is December, pretty much. So if you're looking for, last Tuesday is the 28th,
So February 28th is the next meeting.
February.
Okay, nothing on economic development, I assume. Unless be surprised by something. Energy Commission?
We may have a meeting coming up shortly.
Has the Energy Commission put together a, flyer or something?
We put together a flyer, like a two-sided flyer that they brought last time we had a hearing.
Okay.
I'm sure they're, to the extent of how they're promoting it, I'm not certain. But have you heard anything, or?
Yeah, they are working on an update to the flyer that they had. and then they're going to bring it to us, and we're going to make some copies for them, and have plenty of handouts and whatnot.
Okay.
Great.
They've asked us to put it out on social media as well. I don't know if they're gonna ask
Yeah, I
them
don't
the same
have the
thing. I'm not
updated,
sure
yep.
if they're allowed to or not.
Okay. Yep, we will do that.
And finally, Chamber of Commerce.
Let's see, after meeting, one of the things they asked that we, or I talk about at this meeting was CASA, court-appointed special advocates. They're doing a thing, a presentation they're partnering with Voices Against Violence. This is, it's actually pretty hefty. It's for, they try and get volunteers to advocate for children that are in the system. It's actually a pretty big commitment. What they want these advocates to do is basically stand up for the children, kind of act as their advocates as they go through the court system, the foster system, work with social workers, and so they're always looking for volunteers. So anybody wants to volunteer, that's a great program.
Aren't they recognized by the court?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And sometimes you stay with that child and they can be in there 3 years or so in that whole system, and to be part of that, it's pretty cool, but boy, it certainly takes a special person to do that, to kind of work with that. What else was there? So going forward, new memberships are looking really good. Their travel and tourism seminar was a huge success. They're actually already planning next year's. I don't have it here, but next year's as well. It went much better than they thought it. I mean, they thought it would go well, but it exceeded their expectations. It's got scheduled a bunch of business after hours, which basically allows for networking for businesses. Usually they try and partner up, like they had at Owl's Nest and the bank. It was held at Owl's Nest, but they do it together, which kind of helps facilitate that process.
Yeah, the damn brewery too, or whatever, or they're having it, or they had it already, I think.
They already had it already,
Okay.
that one. I think, what's the next one coming up?
The Voices.
Well, the Voices one, that's not really a business after hours. It's really focused on this CASA, and getting volunteers. But Chase Street and Cafe Monte Alto is the next one there in March. Other than that,
All right. You had one item,
Yeah.
Bill, to sneak in here.
Sure. So this morning I got an email from Will Gunn, who's the choral director and music director at the high school. And what he has done is sent out an invitation to, well, let me just read this. The New Hampshire Music Educators Association is announcing the declaration of March as Music in Our Schools Month. Myosm is the time of year when music education becomes the focus of schools across the nation, including New Hampshire. And the purpose is to raise awareness of the importance of music education for all children. So in honor of Myosm, the Plymouth Regional High School Jazz Band will be performing on Wednesday, March 8th on the State House lawn at 1:30. You may not want to, if you're down in Concord or if you want to make the special trip, it might be worthwhile. And students would love the support of our local senators, legislators, school board members, friends, family, and anyone in the Penny Baker community, to include select board members and municipal employees. So I'm looking forward to that, because I'll be there anyway.
That's great.
And everybody loves Will Gunn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just, he was around with my kids going through, and just an amazing guy, so.
Had some good bands over the years.
yeah.
And he's big on jazz bands too, and they're going to be, the jazz band will be down there, so.
That's great.
Yep.
All right. Any public comments?
I don't see the public.
We have
Dan Marion.
yeah.
We have one.
I'm always here, but no public comments. It's been an enjoyable hour and 23 minutes.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate you.
Okay. Looks like we have a non-public item. So I'll make a motion that we go into non-public according to RSA 91-A:3, 2, A, personnel.
Second.
We don't have discussion on this. Ted, your vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Zach, aye. Marion? Aye. Neil?
Aye.
And that'll put us in non-public.
There you go, hold on.